Hello and welcome back to the Midlands Outdoors channel, back with exploring the Black Country today. Just here at Netherton Tunnel, come all the way through to get to the Tividale section. Going to be covering some history on the Birmingham canal, also bits and pieces on the old line. The first point we're going to check out today is the parts where the RattleChain lagoon is. Going to tell you more information about it. So let's get down there and go and check it out. It's going to be a nice little bike ride and a history video today. So here we are. This is one of my favourite sections of the canal line when you come all the way out on Netherton Tunnel, then head to the Tividale section where the aqueduct is right around the corner. You can imagine back in those days that was actually used to power Netherton Tunnel when it was lit all the way through. But you can just see at the moment the Netherton Tunnel going all the way through, leading to the Bungalow section, 1.7 miles down there. But you imagine this place really does date old. Netherton Tunnel dates to 1855 when it was constructed. Took several years to open and several men to construct this tunnel. It was all work by hand, not machine tools back in those days. So you can just imagine how far it really took them to build. Just by the side of me, if I just have a look, I've got the old Ordnance Survey maps to actually show you. It says Netherton Tunnel Branch, Groveland Colliery disused on this map. You've even got Stour Valley New Brickworks. It's right at the back corner to where we're heading. If I just pan all the way over, you can just see there RattleChain works. You've got old coal shafts, you've got sewage works. There's quite a lot of old works back in those days. And you can imagine over the time, Albright and Wilson using the RattleChain lagoon right around the middle, which I'll tell you more about it in a little while. But you just see from the old Ordnance Survey maps how much works was really here back in the past. Very prosperous from mines and brickworks. So here we are, this is the Birmingham New Line Canal where the Netherton Tunnel branch splits off onto it. Then going all the way down, you've got the branch on the corner what takes you all the way to the Birmingham Old Line Canal. So we'll show you the Old Line a bit later on. Just behind me right now used to be a basin. Old Ordnance Survey maps now, so you can actually see that. So you've got the Stour Valley New Brickworks, then you've got a basin. I think the basin was used for a colliery back in the past, but there is actually evidence remains. If you go down to there, you can just see old brick wall stuff, but at the moment it's really overgrown, so you can't see much at the moment. But if I just roll slightly down, you might be able to see something. So it goes down to here. If I just zoom in, you can just about see a brick wall right at the back. So it was actually like a triangle shaped basin going like that. So I believe the boats back in the old days would have gone all the way from where I'm standing, coming out to this corner here, I believe. So looking by evidence, I think they rebuilt the brick wall just on the side of the canal here, so it would have gone right the way in to lead into that basin. But for the people who never knew there was a basin there, just where the Netherton Tunnel branch is, that's actually what that is. You can just see there is a little bit of water in there at the moment, just right at the back. But it's cool to see something from the industrial past. And I've always wondered what that was until I found out it was actually a loading wharf basin. But if I just show you the canal, if we just get up to here quickly. Wow, it is a really beautiful canal, the Birmingham New Line. But at the moment it's completely covered with all this like mossy thing just onto the top of the water. All the way down it's completely covered. You see zooming in how far this canal really does go. And especially on this side, it goes right away in a straight line, then it loops slightly round, then goes all up to Cosley, then Wolverhampton. And you just see there, nice view of the Toll End Works Bridge just onto the corner of the Netherton Tunnel branch. But here we are, this is RattleChain Lagoon just behind this fencing. Got some really nice views of it just at the moment. So if I carefully get onto the corner here, you're going to see this security fencing goes all the way around the perimeter of the area. And I'll tell you the reasons why in a little while, why this is actually really secured. But just excuse the wind a little bit. But if I zoom in, there we go, there's RattleChain Lagoon going all the way around. We've got some wildlife on there, but I can just imagine this water must be really toxic. I think we've got a measuring station just right away at the bottom, probably to measure how toxic it really is. I don't know, but going all the way around, just imagine though when Albert and Wilson was using this to store chemicals into it, to put all stuff into it. So there is a bit of information here and a bit of history. It says historically much of the local area was quarried for clay for use in the manufacture of brick. So there was a brickworks just right away behind, up a hill up to there. So I might just show you where the location of that was in a little while. RattleChain Brickworks was initially formed in the northern section of the site around 1890 and later expanded to the south with excavations to depths of 20 to 25 m. Once the brickworks closed, a large impermeable hole was left, hence the formation of the RattleChain Lagoon. So it says here, chemical manufacturing in Oldbury dates back to the 1840s, when a 29-year-old chemist called Arthur Albright began manufacturing phosphorus. In time, this led to development of Albright and Wilson Limited, a family-owned business that would run for over 100 years. Although phosphorus manufacture itself ceased at Oldbury in the early 1970s, the site still manufactures, all based on phosphorus chemistry. These products are used in everyday items such as mobile phones, children's nightwear, pharmaceuticals and detergents, as well as to treat water. Rodeo UK Limited acquired Albert and Wilson in 2000. So it is believed that the site is actually still managed under the Environment Agency. It says there in 2013 significant improvements were made on the site to prevent birds from ingesting the waste. So I can just see there is quite a lot of wildlife over there and a lot of birds. So what is in the lagoon? So I will quickly tell you why there's actually security fencing all the way around it. The lagoon contains sludge from the site. It says there, effluent plant plus other waste coming from the Oldbury factory allowed by the licence. The contents are mostly calcium phosphate. It says there, but also include white phosphorus, sulphur and wastes. And equipment contaminated with phosphorus. Wow, so I bet you underneath that water there's probably machinery, equipment, things that was affected by those chemicals. The amount of white phosphorus is estimated to be about 0.1% of the total waste. But you just imagine that's actually why the security fence is going all the way around, because you're not allowed to go by the water because it's really harmful. Just imagine how toxic it is still at the moment. All those chemicals, what have been dumped into there from Albert and Wilson, some of the equipment, machines, various different things that have been dumped within this lagoon. But I can imagine back in the old days when the brickworks were there, what this place really did look like, and not having the lagoon there, just a massive hole just right around the middle. It would be cool to look back in the past to see what this really did look like. There is some old Ordnance Survey maps on this place, and there is some old aerial footage just showing the brickworks right away at the back. So there we go, that's actually the Albert and Wilson site for the RattleChain Lagoon. Just zooming in one more time to show you. There we go, for the people that was wondering information behind it and why there's actually security fencing, there we go. So there is actually razor wire right away at the top to stop you from climbing right away in. So here we are, just onto another interesting section at the moment. You can just see the Birmingham canal stretching all the way down. But not only that, something really interesting behind me. This is actually an old basin that used to link up to the old brickworks that was right away at the top. So I think this was actually a basin for the RattleChain brickworks. But viewing all the way down, I will go and show you that on the way out, but there's a big basin just right away behind there that is completely overgrown. So you can just see evidence that there's actually a basin there by more brick wall. So it's really cool to discover this basin right away here, and also the basin by the Netherton tunnel branch, giving an industrial feel to the canal itself. So this canal, the Birmingham New Line section, has quite a lot of history as well as the old line, so I'm going to tell you a bit about it right now, which is really interesting. So it says here, over the next 30 years, as more canals and branches were built, all connected, it became necessary to review the long, winding, narrow old main line. With a single towpath, boats passing in opposite directions had to negotiate their horses and ropes. As traffic grew, the locks at Smethwick Summit were still a constriction. In 1824, Thomas Telfer was commissioned to examine alternatives. He famously travelled the route of the old line and reported the existing canal as little more than a crooked ditch with scarcely the appearance of a towing path, the horses frequently siding and staggering in the water, the hauling line sweeping the gravel into the canal, and the entanglement at the meeting of boats being incessant, whilst at the locks at each end of the short summit, crowds of boatmen were always quarrelling and offering premiums for the preference of passage. It says here, by 1827, the new main line passed straight through and linked to the loops of the old main line, creating Ousel's Loop, Icknor Port Loop and Soho Loop, Cape Loop and Soho Foundry Loop, allowing continued access to the existing foundries and wharves. It does say the Smethwick summit was bypassed by 71-foot cutting, although Lunar Society member Samuel Galton's land, creating the Galton Valley, 70 feet deep and 150 feet wide, running parallel to the old main line. Telford's changes were completed in 1829, and Telford designed a cast iron bridge. The Galton Bridge to Spanish cutting, it was cast at the Horsey Iron Works and was the engine arm aqueduct and many of the wide roving bridges. By 1838, the new main line was completed between Birmingham and Tipton, a lock-free dual carriageway. It was also called the Island Line as it was cut straight through the hill at Smethwick known as the Island. So you can just see lots of information behind the Birmingham New Line Canal, stretching all the way down, goes all the way to Wolverhampton. So I will drop the links in the description if you're interested in reading more about it. But where we're heading is to the Birmingham Old Line Canal to show you more information and more history behind it. Right, getting back through here is a real challenge because you've literally got to hold onto the wall and pray you don't fall back and end up into the canal. So meet you in a minute. But here we are, just right around the corner now is the basin. So it's believed that the boats used to come in from this corner, right away in front, and more up just onto the corner here. It's another triangle shaped basin with water still inside here, as you can just see. It's very boggy in places. But the right away up to there was actually where the RattleChain brickworks was actually situated. You can just see the big steep hill going right away to the top. So it really does make me wonder how they got the goods from the top up to there to get down to the basin, because I've noticed that it goes right away up onto a steep hill. So whether there was an incline to come all the way down, that would be quite interesting to know. Or was this basin actually used for a coal mine? So it was on the old maps, I did see that the Triangle Basin was here when the brickworks was there, but there could have been colliery uses nearby back in the old days for the use of this basin. Well, I can just see it is completely overgrown over here with nettles, stingers. But just coming over this way, if I carefully get down, I'm going to be careful because I've got this like little puddle here. Don't know how deep it is. But there we go, there's more evidence of the canal sidings here, how deep it actually was by the walls onto the back. There is even some brick wall, but it's completely overgrown just onto the far back corner. I think the water's a little bit deeper down onto there. You can just see some like little reeds coming all the way through, water plants. But it's really cool to see all the nature, how it's really taken back on a formal industrial site, the old brickworks right away at the top. You may have seen in my last video when I went up to the RattleChain brickworks how cool it was. There was some old brick stuff up to there. Had some really cool views of RattleChain Lagoon right away at the back, and also the Birmingham Canal, overlooking that section from up to there, down onto the canal over to this side. So it is really cool telling you some information about the Birmingham Canal and also the basin, what went right away under, just showing you the back areas down onto there. So this is actually the views from the top of the bridge. You can get the views of the Birmingham Canal where Dunkirk is, right back. If I zoom in, you've got the Dunkirk Island. If I just show you the other side, you can just see the Birmingham Canal that goes all the way to the Tipton section, then all the way to Wolverhampton, right away down there. It's a very long route. I might think about doing that one again, all the way to Wolverhampton and then to Elderslie. But if we just come all the way back this way, you can just see all the old steel right at the bottom of this bridge, how old it really is. Viewing all the way down, you can now see the basin, how it comes right away down onto the corner. Just panning all the way down there, you can see the wall from the top end here. So right, it was really cool showing you the basins, bits of history. We're heading all the way now to the Old Line Canal section, but just before we get there I want to tell you about the Dunkirk section, which was also another split off that went all the way down to the back at the other end of the Sheepwash Nature Reserve. So here we are, this is Dunkirk Island, and somewhere over there back in the old days where the other branch goes all the way up to the BCN old line, used to be opposite a canal section that went right away through under the train line section over there and straight away through. It didn't actually go far, but I'll tell you a bit of information behind it. So it says here this diminutive stub was a barely 1,000 feet long, stretching back from the new main line in a north-westerly direction. Its entrance being directly opposite the Gower branch, which is right away down there. So it is a section of canal which we are going to be taking in a little while. So the old maps suggest that the area is a spoil, presumably excavated from Greeks Green Colliery. However, at the turn of the century there appears to be no industrial activity in the area, although the Dunkirk Forge was known to have operated in the area, together with a number of sand and gravel pits. This short line remained in water till the 1953, when it was eventually filled in and its entrance to the BCN main line was sealed off. So there we go, there's the Dunkirk Island on the section there, leading all the way down. But you can just imagine back in the old days when the canal stretched 1,000 yards, going right away to the back areas just over to there. So it is really cool, you do learn much more of things that's not there now, no evidence of it. But back in the old days, evidence of canals stretching from different sections, basins, wharves, little sections going on to various areas that you don't realise is there. By me, I've got a canal, the Dudley No. 2 canal extension line from the Old Hill section. I didn't know there was actually a little loading wharf onto the corner there, and I've lived around that area for many years and only found out about it a couple of months ago. So revising the history, you really do learn quite a lot of new stuff about canal lines. I mean, I could probably go for weeks on end about this canal and keep finding new bits all the time. That's what I love about the BCN new line and the old line. You always find and learn new information every time you visit here. So it is really cool to see the Dunkirk stop. Every time I've passed through it, I've always wondered how old this place really does date back onto the canal section here. I mean, you can just imagine how many boats have passed through here for over many, many years. The reasons behind placing the stop here, whether it's to split the traffic. I know some of the islands across the canal lines had gorging stations, weighed the boats by their load. So you also had toll offices just somewhere down the canal sections, which is really interesting. So yeah, just as I'm speaking, we've got a narrowboat coming all the way through the Dunkirk stop. So it's really cool to see the boats passing from either side, as you can just see. But just imagine back in the old days, so the boats would have split off from that side and then one coming that side. Good example of it actually. So here we are, this is the split off now to the Gower branch, which is on the right. We've got Braid's Hall Junction, then we've got the BCN old line, which is right at the back. Here we go, another canal section, the Gower branch, stretching all the way up, a little stairway to the BCN old line, and also meets the new line just onto this section here. You can just see the split off area where you get the barges that come this way, come underneath me, all go straight on past the Dunkirk stop. But just imagine for one moment the Dunkirk section that went 1,000 yards just right away in front. It is believed it's somewhere where I'm pointing where it actually went through back in the old days. I'm guessing by viewing of it, I've just noticed that it's a little bit underneath there, bricks missing. It's making me wonder, is that actually where the canal actually went? Just onto that corner? It really does make you wonder, but the only way you can find out is if you got to the other side, got the Ordnance Survey maps on and turned on your location to show where exactly for that branch. But it's really interesting to know past history of the canals. But right away by the side of me, we've even got a date, 1855, the Horsey Company. But yeah, most of these bridges were cast at the Horsey Ironworks. There is a few down various canal sections. When you're travelling down, you see the similar style bridges. This is actually where these were cast from. Same with the Galton Valley Bridge. That was actually cast at the Horsey Ironworks. So you can see that company really does have a lot of history against the canals and the bridges. But there we go, just right underneath. If I zoom in, you can just see there what it says, Horsey Company, Tipton, 1855. But you get a really cool view of the Gower branch opening that goes all the way up from the Birmingham new line onto the corner. So where we're heading now is right away down there, take us up to the top and then to the old line section of the canal line, right up to there. Can imagine the Birmingham old line canal has quite a lot of history, same as the new line. Going back to the Industrial Revolution, you can just see with one towpath all the traffic was caused from boats trying to pass from one side to the other. It couldn't really happen because the horses could only travel from one section, causing a lot of traffic waiting for one boat to pass. That's actually why there's actually a new line section with two towpaths on either side, like mentioned earlier, to relieve that traffic. But you can just imagine all the industry down that canal. I will tell you bits and pieces as I get down to there. We will look at the old Ordnance Survey maps and see how much it has really changed. Well, I tell you what, it is a lovely section, this Goa branch going right away to the top. You can just see all the lily pads right away at the back. Sometimes when you come down to here, the water is so clear you can see right away through. And what I love about this canal section now, the old line, we've actually modernised the towpaths by putting tarmac down and gravel, making it perfect for cyclists to come all the way down. No issues of punches and stuff from the ground, all the mud, you've got no worries of that no more. So it's really perfect if you want to come and travel down and discover the canal sections down to here. So here we are, we're coming to the bridge now, so we're not too far. This is called Brideshaw Bridge. So if we stop and show you, you can imagine how far this one really does date back. And what I love about canal bridges is you see by the brickwork, some of it really does date back, like the corners, especially down there, how old it is, rusty, even the walls. Some of them, as you do pass, have dates onto there saying 1800, and what's called is the countryside canals, where you see the old Victorian style bridges going all the way across. I really do love the sight of those. But you just see this section here must have a lot of dates behind it, and once more history behind the Goa branch itself. But you see Brideshaw Bridge right around the sign, but looking right away in, it is absolutely so clear, like I mentioned, and this is what I love about it. You can see the fish at times travelling all the way across. Not only that, various odd things end up into the canal line. You can just see a computer hard drive, a lot of cans and stuff, even weapons end up into the canal from criminal stuff. I'm a magnet fisher myself, so I find quite a lot of interesting stuff, guns and things into the canal. Travelling all the way down, it's just really cool to see how clear it really is. I mean, old-fashioned plates and stuff into there. You can see plates, there is a cup down there. You can imagine quite a lot of stuff's ended from industry and boats in the past. It makes you wonder what really is at the bottom of all this stuff. There could be some really cool stuff to do with history. Yeah, there is. There's very old plates smashed up into the corner there. Viewing all the way down to the end of the loch. It gets very cloudy on this corner, but it's really cool to see it very clear. I really do love seeing the canals like this. And another great place to see very clear canals is the Warsaw section. You really do get the best views, especially the fish into there. It's really spectacular to see. So here we are, we've made it. Come to the Birmingham Old Line Canal. As you can just see the bridge that goes all the way over. Got various other bits and pieces down. You can imagine back in the old days, there was much industry on the corners. What I will do now is to get down to the end section here. I'm going to get the old Ordnance Survey maps up. Let's see how much the canal has really changed. So here we are, this is the old Ordnance Survey map. Somewhere close by me at the moment was a basin. We had boiler work somewhere over the back over this way. And it believed there was more loading wharves somewhere over onto these sides. Like I mentioned, by view of the old Ordnance Survey maps, there's quite a lot of industry and loading wharves once more down this canal. So it is believed the Birmingham Old Line Canal was used for transportation of goods back in the past, by evidence of the old Ordnance Survey maps. But if we journey further down this way on the old Ordnance Survey maps, you can just see these brickworks, small loading wharves. We've even got more stuff. There's even kilns somewhere at the back over that way, which is really cool. Viewing all the way down, we've got braids works, iron and steel. Got even another one, globe works, and that's even got a basin, well, two basins leading in from one another. That is really interesting to see that. So you can just really see how much the Birmingham Old Line has really changed from an industrial past to the way it is today. So right, if it is true against the old Ordnance Survey maps, the bridge what you seen earlier, you may see it really does date back a bit. At least now make you wonder if there was an old tramway that went all the way across there, because on the old Ordnance Survey maps it's now showing a tramway when the view further down. So you can just see there was even a colliery just at the back over here once more, and that tramway actually serving that. Although having another look at the old Ordnance Survey maps, it's now making me wonder if the tramway was for something else. I viewed even further down, I found a farm just on the survey maps right away at the back. You see it was all fields by viewing the maps, a farm, coal mine, tramway where that bridge is there. Even further here we had more works over there, loading wharves. It's just crazy to see how much has really changed within the space of time. So right, let's go and have a journey down. We'll come back to the old Ordnance Survey maps when we get more into the Oldbury section. Let's go and journey further on and get a bit of cinematics. Enjoy. So here we go, you can just see industry along the canal line. We've got stacks, we've got units just by the side, stretching all the way behind me, going over that way. You can really see this really clear in the winter when all this stuff dies back. But it's really cool to see industry along the canal line. So if we get the old Ordnance Survey maps up, you can just see old shafts. We've even got an off section for the canal that loops all the way around. Just at the back areas over there. We've got the globe works, which is on the other side from where I'm pointing. We had basins over there. There's various other things down onto this corner. Loads of clay pits and other works. Fire brick works. Wow, there's quite a lot down this way. Tons. And even further down, there was a lot more industry to where we're heading to. There was a big, massive chemical works. And even further down, lots of industry and houses. So you can just see once more the canal has really changed. If we journey further down, compared to the old Ordnance Survey maps, it's really much different. It's not like the way it used to be. It's changed more into a modern area, more overgrown sidings like this. And you can just see evidence of our basins as I travel further down. I will show you some as I get towards the motorway. Just before I get to Wimsey Bridge, right away down the bottom, I've actually discovered this. It says on the date onto here, 1990 High Bridge, just right away at the top. So you see a new addition to the canal in the late 1900s. Seeing all this stuff being added onto here. So it just gives an insight that some of the bridges that were constructed are modern when they look like this. You can just see it's all modern concrete. Even when I first seen it a while ago, I always thought that this was definitely a modern one. Most of the older bridges are more old-fashioned brick, more of like the old style ones what you see in the countryside. So right, I've got some old photos from Wimsey Bridge overlooking the view right in front of me. So this is actually an old photo, a view from Wimsey Bridge, Oldbury, looking towards Birmingham. Ahead is part of Chance and Hunts Limited chemical works in the 1900s. You can just see there is houses right around the side along the towpath, so you can just see how much has really changed dating really far back a bit. So I have found some other interesting photos to show you, which is really quite cool. So it's nice to see some of the old photos like these that really do date back a bit. But I mean, viewing of it with the photo on the bottom right for you, so you can just see, comparing the old photo to the way it looks today, you can just see how much has really changed, having the houses on the left, which are no longer there anymore. But there's the back end to the Wimsey Bridge. I believe that area there used to be a smaller bridge back in the older days. But journeying further down, you could have seen there was quite a lot of industry right away in front. There is evidence of old loading wharves if I were to show you. So right by viewing of it, if I pan around, there's evidence of one loading wharf which is still there, with very old boats just moored up against the corner. There is a few down the bottom on the canal which I will show you. I have just noticed some really good evidence. Could it be from the houses? I don't know. Some really old bricks sticking out the floor onto the towpath. Just imagine how far this really does date back. This could be possible evidence of it. And even there, as you can just see, right away into there is where the houses were situated. But it is really cool to see how the canal has really changed to the way it is now, just right away in front. But by viewing of it, you wouldn't believe the canal was actually like that, but it actually was. But here we are, now heading towards the motorway section. We just carry straight on. You had the Albert and Wilson works, which is right away over the back. And then out the times coming down, I noticed some things onto the corner here. You can see very old walls right away at the bottom, where that modern industry is, just onto the canal walls there. That really does look old, but onto the corner is really cool. Now what I want to talk to you about is this right away here. What you can just see is a very old bridge. It could be a footbridge leading from that side, as you can just see. So if I pan around to show you, this is really old brickwork leading from there. I think it went over to the other side on the far back corner. Then not only that, you've got a really big loading wharf just there with some boats just right around the corner. But if I just quickly zoom in, you can see the boats just right the way there, going all the way across. So it is once more really cool to see that going all the way down. Those boats look like they have a bit of history behind them. They're really rotten. They've been there for a long time. Not only that, there is another off basin right the way there with a very old brick wall. So it is making you wonder, there has got to be, back in the old days, lots of industry right away at the back. Like I mentioned, you had all the chemical plants over here. You had the Albert and Wilson. Further at the back where the Titford Canal section is, just down to there. So there was very old industry. That's actually where that footbridge went, right away of the other side to lead to that industry, what was there. But if I am correct, then please drop it into the comments. That is a really cool piece of history to see. And obviously how you know it's a footbridge, because they've blocked it off there, so it must have gone all the way across and then further on. So yeah, it is a shame about the wind today, but I'll tell you what, how cool is this, finding lots of history today across this canal section. You can keep on finding more. It's the first time I've mentioned about this. Let's go and head under the motorway and go and show you the off section down there. So here we are under the motorway now. We've got the signs here, Oldbury Locks, BCN Junction. Very old sign saying Titford Pools, 2.5 miles. You've got Titford Pump House, 6 locks. But you can see right away there how cool it is. Viewing all the way up to the Titford section. I believe there's some old industry right around the corner here. Because I can just see, viewing from this, there is a very old sign with no writing on it. Just right away there. So there was something over there back in the past. You had Albert and Wilson, which is still there today, the old factory units. It's actually called Solvay, I believe, so they're still operating things over there. But I can just see the stack for it just peeking right away through the scaffolding onto the corner there. So that's right away of the distance. But it's really cool to see the bridge going all the way across. So there is lots of history going back to the Albright and Wilson. Just imagine them taking all the stuff from there, the phosphorus, the chemicals, going all the way from where we come from to RattleChain to dump it into there. It's amazing to see quite a lot of history behind it and the reasons to tell you behind the RattleChain lagoon. But yeah, if you want to go and check out more history of that, I've got a video on my channel. I will drop a link in the description heading from Titford Pools, covering lots of history from Albright and Wilson, all the several factories down there. But I really love this canal part here with the motorway. You can just see they're doing quite a lot of works at the moment. They're doing repairs several times every couple of years or so. This happens onto the corners right away there. But you can just imagine now the motorway really does date back a bit from when they actually built it. So there we go, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. It's been another great one to tell you more history, show you the old Ordnance Survey maps. But yeah, what a cool place. I love the canals. Every canal I love visiting, like the Staffordshire and Worcestershire Canal. The Birmingham Canal is my favourite. I am going to do a video all the way to the city centre, covering lots of Black Country history past Smethwick, and all the way to the city itself. So see you soon. Thank you very much for watching. Drop in the comments of what you think about the video. Also drop a like as well if you can. If you're new, please hit that subscribe button because I really do appreciate it. I love sharing the history with you guys. It's really cool. And also I learned stuff along the way. See you soon for Midlands Outdoors out.